It's about quality, safety, and result. Operated under the International Cellular Medical Society, ICMS, AABB, and US FDA's Good Tissue Practice, CGTP guidelines. Board-certified physician specialists. Maximizing health potentials. It's all about quality of life. Andrew's progress in 2 days.
Let's talk about the changes. So we're day 2, and I know yesterday we spoke and you had a number of things to tell us, and obviously we saw a number of things. Fill me in. Ladies, go for it.
Excellent. Well, to start with, we had sort of imagined that we would see changes gradually over the course of the next few months. And didn't really expect to see any changes out of the gate. I mean, you know, people had said, oh, more eye contact, whatever, you know, but with, in Andrew's case, we saw an increase in speech and articulation, and part of it was just through your advice to take him out of his comfort zone. Giving everything a word and saying, okay, what is cemento was one of the words, and he said cemento, clear as day, and I almost fell over. Okay.
And is that the first time that's ever happened?
That's the first time he's ever said it, but it also is a 3-syllable word, and everything with the consonants were articulated, everything was articulated very well. He's been, instead of, you know, saying, well, what color is that? Instead of the groan and the sigh and then the mumbling of a color, he said yellow. And then he grabbed each of his cars in sequence, and with this, he was very proud of himself, and announced what color each of the cars was. And he's known his colors, but to get him to go through a litany of what color everything is was usually, it was like torture. I mean, you'd think he was being poked under the table. He'd groan and he'd do it grudgingly, and he's kind of showing off a little bit, which is fun. But our most interesting, and I'm sure that an occupational therapist could explain exactly why and how of it all, along with a neurologist. But yesterday, in an attempt to take him completely out of his comfort zone, because Andrew has not used utensils consistently since he was 2. He just essentially eats everything with his fingers or eats finger food. You know, we can give him a fork and he stabs whatever, you know, and grumbles and eats one piece and then decides that whatever you've asked him to eat with silverware isn't worth eating and then stomps off. It's never a particularly fun event. So I tried it just because I knew it would annoy him. I handed him a fork, and I speared a piece of watermelon for him, and I handed it to him, and instead of taking it off the fork and grumbling, he popped it in his mouth and speared another piece. And he has eaten the last 4 meals with a fork.
For the first time in his life.
For the first time since he was 2, with a fork. And handed me a knife and asked for hep cut. So I helped him cut. But for us, that's sort of huge, and I imagine it will help him in the classroom environment and socially during lunchtime, because he's always only ever brought things to school for lunch that one can eat with his hands and not look silly. Because you don't want him to look like a goof in front of his peers, and because he is social and he does have friends, those relationships have been limited because of his speech.